I had to stay in McMaster Hospital for 4 weeks more. My body cast was covering my stomach and back, so I got a very bad bed sore on the base of my tailbone. My doctors had to do an emergency operation to remove my old body cast and put a new body cast to my knees. This new body cast allowed me to have some physical therapy on my legs to be flexible when I had to relearn how to walk again. 2 years later, I told my orthopedic surgeon that I would like to learn how to ski. However, he told me that my pins should be removed before I learned how to ski. At this point, I was surprised because my orthopedic surgeon didn't tell me that my pins should be removed in the future. I went along with my orthopedic surgeon's recommendation to remove my pins out of my legs. About 10 days later, my parents noticed my left leg was getting red and sore. They took me down to McMaster Hospital once again. The fracture clinic said that I had a bad infection in my left leg and removed the stitches. In my elementary schools, I was allowed to take physical education with my classmates. However, when I applied to go to my local high school, the principal at the time didn't want me to take physical education with the rest of the student body. The principal told us that physical education in high school could be very dangerous for me, and he didn't want me to sue the board for any injury I might have incurred when I took physical education. However, I could have sued this principal for breaking my human rights, but I didn't bother to sue this principal because I wanted to go to this high school since I was a child. My high school gave me an exemption credit instead of taking physical education. In high school, I needed to have more time to write my assignments and exams. I remember one of my English teachers didn't want to give me more time to write a book report and gave me a 0 for my book report. I didn't have an aide to follow and help me in my classes. If I was offered to have an aide, I might have said no thanks, because I had been going through the school system without an aide. The next year, I had a great English teacher who gave me more time on my exams, and especially on my assignments. I earned a 95% in this English course versus a 60% in my previous English course. Looking back on these two English courses, I figured that my learning resource teacher helped me more than my previous learning resource teacher. She was an English teacher before getting this job and a supply learning resource teacher when my previous learning resource teacher was on maternity leave and had an operation on her knee. I had been dreaming about going to Mohawk College for most of my entire lifetime. I asked my guidance counselor to put on my college application that I would like to go to Mohawk College, and he wrote a letter to the registration office that I would need some assistance when I got there. The rest of my classmates were required to have co-op jobs, and if I didn't find a co-op job, then Mohawk College would give me an exemption credit. However, it didn't suit me to see my fellow classmates having co-op jobs, so I signed myself to be in the course prerequisite for getting a co-op job. My co-op teacher tried to get me a job with the city. However, a manager told my co-op teacher there was no room for my scooter. After this awful disappointment, I decided to get a job by myself. I was volunteering at McMaster Hospital's Kid Day, and I went to the Human Resources Department to look for a co-op job. The secretary told me I should have gone to my co-op teacher to get a co-op job at McMaster Hospital. I had no confidence in my co-op teacher with getting me a job at McMaster Hospital, so I asked one of the coordinators of the kid day, did she know anybody in the computer technology department. She said she did, and the next day I quickly called him for an interview. He set up an interview with me at McMaster Hospital, and I got the job. However, when I went to McMaster Hospital's computer technology department, I had a bad feeling some of my coworkers didn't want me working there. I gained so much experience in working there for 2 different terms, so I didn't want to work for somebody else, and I decided to start my own business. Sometimes, I had failed some courses at Mohawk College and had to pick myself up by taking these courses again. Once I had to speak with my teacher because I was failing this course, and my teacher agreed that if I passed the exam, he would pass me for the course. Thank God I had this conversation with my teacher, because the secretary in the special needs department refused to call and get my teacher's permission for me to get more time for my exam. On the other hand, I had to take one course 3 times, and my teacher was one of my ex-classmates. I did awful on my midterm exam. She took the extra time to help me with rewriting my midterm exam. She also took the extra time to help me with writing my final exam. She knew what my abilities were to do this course. I'm not saying that she had written my exams, but she took some interest to help me pass the computer systems technology course. Sometimes, in the last years at Mohawk College, some fellow classmates and I like to play cards in the cafeteria. I'm not saying that we were playing cards instead of going to our classes or working on our homework. However, playing cards was so good for our stress level, and we were talking to each other, so we got to know each other very well.